WandaVision is officially wrapped up, and it has caused waves since its early episodes on the internet. People going ham, trying to figure out where this show's going to go, what exactly it's going to unveil. And now we have most of the answers. I'm sure people are going to be combing through the show for months, finding new little nuggets for us to discuss. But as of right now, here is my immediate reaction review. Overall, I'm positive. I have criticisms and am disappointed in some ways, but WandaVision was a very impressive show for Marvel to bring out. I don't typically talk superhero stuff, especially not very positively, but this was bold in some ways for Marvel and gives me a lot of faith for them continuing the MCU in this TV show format. I'm excited for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is something I would not have been saying a couple months ago. And just getting straight into some of the detailed things here, the to stole the show, take it away performance for me was Agatha Harkness. I loved the actress behind this. She had clearly had so much fun with it, and she's not, by the way, full spoiler warning, if you haven't finished it, this is going to be a spoiler review. She's not dead, so she definitely can come back in the future and be a threat later on, which I appreciate. Marvel, stop killing off villains, make them reoccurring threats, embrace that side of comics, because the more you build them up, the better we get to know them, the more enjoyable it'll be to have on screen. And Agatha Harkness was so enjoyable as a antagonist. Now I'm going to follow that up with a criticism. The old Pietro thing, having the actor from the X-Men just for it to be revealed that it's like not him and kind of make a boner joke. That really, I understand it's Marvel. They could still do something with it and just like retcon and be like, actually it is the guy. But like, dude, just why? That went nowhere. It went nowhere. I'm not even entirely sure why Pietro was in the show outside of the couple of scenes where he was close with Wanda and Agatha brought him in for reasons as well. I'm just kind of frustrated as someone who was really hype on them bringing in possibly the X-Men, possibly Reed Richards, super into that. It went pretty much nowhere. First cut in, because this is gonna bother me more than I actually said originally in the review the more I think on it. Marvel still, to this day, despite their ability and, willingness to get weirder and more crazy and zany, don't follow through all the time. And this was a very blatant example of that. They brought in an element to get people talking, to do a meta social and media blow up, like, oh, watch this show, it's important, and it gets people in. But in terms of the narrative of the show, it rings a bit hollow. It feels almost unnecessary, and it's transparent as a move to do what was accomplished. And it makes me have a little bit less trust in them as a viewer, which is strange because overall WandaVision did give me more trust in what Marvel's doing with these TV shows. But stuff like that means in the future when they make these big promises like they did with, a Luke Skywalker type cameo people were talking about, which wasn't entirely their fault if you look into what the quote was and everything, but whatever. It just, I don't know, it bugged me a bit. So that's my thoughts there. In terms of a meta choice, didn't love that. I also just kind of laughed at this head of sword guy being like, Wanda's the villain, she's the bad guy. And then he pulls a gun and shoots at children. He's like, no, she's the bad guy. I'm gonna shoot these kids. And in a Jimmy Woo-esque style sleight of hand, we had the final reveal for who this other actor, Paul Bentley, is so excited to act against, and it was himself. Damn it, that's funny. And they did a really good job. I actually really like Vision ending the fight with himself by bringing in facts and logic. Like, he just logicked himself into being like, oh, we're not Vision anymore, or we both are, or not. So, let's end this. That actually just, I feel like it could have been handled very poorly, but it very much so works with the established character. And he then gives this gray Vision his memories, and this Vision is now, for most intents and purposes, Vision, I guess. I'm really interested to see where that is going to go. So, okay, let's get more cohesive here about the whole narrative of WandaVision. I think this show is impressive and again set a bar that Marvel can now point to and like, oh look, there's never been a superhero show like this and this is going to be the standard for ourselves. Very cool. Will they be able to follow it up in Falcon and Winter Soldier? I hope so. It was not a masterpiece. There are definitely a lot of loose questions, but it did a ton of legwork to help set up future threats for the MCU. This Dark Matter, Dark Dimension book has, I know, a lot of people speculating on what's going to happen with Wanda. I don't know if you guys know, but there were 2 post-credits scenes. The first one set up Skrull for Monica to be dealing with Nick Fury in space, I guess, because they're pointing up and we know Nick Fury's in space with the Skrull. And then we also have Wanda in her PJs, kind of splitting herself, Doctor Strange style, also doing this studying. I guess astral projecting herself, or maybe that's an illusion of her in her PJs out front, so people don't know she's doing this studying, but clear ties into the multiverse of madness. I personally think her hearing her kids calling out for help means, okay, one, we get these characters back, which I enjoy, perfect, but also is probably going to be the setup for Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. A lot of people have been wondering, how is this going to directly lead in, thinking Doctor Strange was going to get involved with this show. He never did, because I assume budget. It would make sense for him to show up and interfere here, but I think Benedict Cumberbatch is probably expensive, so they didn't want to bring him in. Or maybe they just wanted Wanda to have the spotlight, which I appreciate that as well. But we have a pretty clear direction now. It seems that Wanda's going to be on a mission to save her kids from assumedly hell, with what this book is tied to and an establishment that witches and things like this exist. So Doctor Strange and Wanda going into hell, and that leads into a multiverse situation. I don't know. I'm not the Marvel expert. I'm sure there's comic stuff people are pointing to that know more. One last cut in, because if I don't mention it, I'll kick myself for not, but it's a severe nitpick, but also the fact that we had Scarlet Witch in the end of the last episode being like, I don't do hexes, I don't do that stuff, I'm not that kind of magic, and then winning this fight by doing exactly that with the runes. It's like, oh, I guess you learned and mastered that to the point where you can beat this powerful, very well-trained witch in that span of time. Cool. And I know it's superheroes, it shouldn't bug me, but I just feel like Marvel has grown beyond stuff like that, and now we're getting it again, so it bummed me out a little bit. Still, overall, really enjoyed the experience and like what this is doing for Marvel as a whole. So I have nitpicks, essentially. But I liked the final showdowns. I had a really good time. It's Marvel, you just kind of sit back and enjoy the spectacle, and this show accomplished that pretty much exactly as it needed to. Elizabeth Olsen has really proved herself to be a magnificent Scarlet Witch. I love the costume reveal for her at the end. It feels like we are finally getting the definitive Scarlet Witch, and that's so cool. I mean, she's inarguably been a bit of more of a background Avenger up until now, and watching her come to the forefront like this, it gave me a lot of reassurance as a casual Marvel fan that the future of the MCU is going to have, you know, characters on the level of an Iron Man, a Captain America. We just have to get to the point where we're attached to them as much as we were with those, you know, first phase Avengers, and we're on track to. Like, I can see myself being as invested in Scarlet Witch's arc as an Iron Man if it continues in this trajectory, or because she could end up a villain still. I'm not ruling that out. I saw some people complaining about Vision essentially being resurrected through this show. I mean, the White Vision, you know, tying into the comics, is now essentially going to be Vision with these memories in him with slight changes, slight differences, an internal conflict, I'm sure. But that doesn't bother me with superhero comic stuff as much, because that's like a just staple of superhero comics. People die, they come back, all the way back to the death of Superman and how that made headlines in America, and then they just brought him back. That's just what happens. That's how superhero comics work. Yeah, I'm not too bugged by it. I mean, we're getting a Black Widow movie after the fact. It's a prequel, but still, we're getting a Loki show after he's gone, and Gamora's not really gone. There's universe-breaking multiverse stuff going on. They could have Iron Man back. So looking back at all 9 episodes, I enjoyed the characters, I enjoy the story, I enjoy what was done for Marvel as a whole. I'm a little let down by a couple unanswered things or misdirects that felt too misdirecty, but even like for the minor characters, I had a really good time with. Jimmy Woo's nice. I'm excited to see where Monica goes. Even having the woman from Thor Dark World back, whose name eludes me, she ended up making me laugh and being a character that I appreciated there, even though I didn't really like her in the Thor movies she was in. Of course, because it's Marvel, you're not going to see Breaking Bad level character development or, you know, insane writing on that level, but it's pulpy and it's a really good time. But anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of WandaVision in the comments down below. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Do you love Agatha Harkness, or will you never forgive her for Sparky? Just remember, Snooper's gonna stoop. Like and subscribe if you have not already. Hit the Patreon if you want to support what I do here, and have a good one, y'all. Peace.